Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of the How to Write a Song Like Coldplay / Chris Martin. In this section we're going to look at somnambulant lyric writing. So what does that mean? We're going to try to talk about how to enter into a headspace where you can write lyrics sort of in that Coldplay, Chris Martin vein. A lot of the Coldplay material has this sort of non-linear image and emotion-driven approach to language, reminiscent of dream sequences where there's a lot of material that doesn't necessarily follow the ordinary rules of reality, and the image sequences are shifting quite a lot, much in the way that we dream. And Martin has a few tricks that he uses to get kind of into that state. So let's take a look at 2 of Chris Martin's, I don't know if you'd call them techniques, but they're at least ways to get into that headspace where you can tap into some more dreamy, maybe subconscious, and accessing sort of any influences that you have in your life, whether they be just experiences with other people or they could be literary references. Chris Martin's songs have a lot of biblical references. I think that has a lot to do with his upbringing. Growing up in a Christian sort of religious background. But he does 2 things. Number 1, he does an exercise called freeform writing that he claims to have gotten from Einstein. He says what you do is you take a pen and paper and you just write anything for 12 minutes and then burn it. And it cleans your brain out. I got it from Einstein, not personally of course, but that's what I got told he used to do, just to kind of free up his brain. So that was a Chris Martin interview with Sirius XM Radio, and according to him it allows him to better access his creativity. So what you would do is you would just Lulu's gonna go take a break, bye Lulu. But what you would do is you would just write, just stream of consciousness, right?
Let everything flow out of your mind
onto a piece of paper, and then maybe don't burn it, just tear it up, sort of clears out your brain, and then you can sort of access whatever's left, which is going to be a little bit more closely tied to your subconscious mind. The second thing that Chris Martin's talked about doing is that he writes really late into the night. He'll write for really long periods of time. There's this really cool interview with him in Rolling Stone magazine where he says that his bad songs come from me and my knowledge of how to write songs, but the good ones come from somewhere I have no idea where, and they tend to sort of be flying around about at 2 o'clock in the morning. You just have to be there to catch it. That's not to say that his process is this fleeting thing where he's just up in the middle of the night and all of this amazing stuff is coming in. He's really talked a lot about the craft of writing, and he's talked about his influences. He's talked about analyzing a number of records, including, I wrote them down here. He's studied Blood on the Tracks and Bringing It All Back Home by Bob Dylan. Some of a-ha's records, Oasis's initial record. I know Coldplay broke that one down pretty thoroughly, and then he's also really influenced by Radiohead's OK Computer. So he's studied his craft, but craft only gets you so far, and according to Chris Martin, doing sort of these techniques can help access some more interesting material when he's in this sort of dreamlike or somnambulant kind of sleepwalking state. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples of some of the lyrics and some of the songwriting too, not just the lyrics, but the way that the songs sound. They sound very dreamy. Probably the most famous one is Clocks. And you can hear a bunch of frantic, chaotic images that are shifting and shape-shifting, only to finally lead into that final hook of You Are. So it sounds something like
Come out, things
I'm actually, if you see some live performances of Chris Martin singing that song, he'll do all these weird hand gestures where he's sort of accessing almost like the creative side of his brain. So really interesting how would you think of stuff like that if you weren't kind of in sort of that headspace? Okay, so let's take a look at one more example. This one's called Spies. This one sounds more like a bad dream to me. There are these really odd lyrical references to spies coming out of the water. And I think the underlying message of the song is he's trying to capture maybe the sense of being like a fugitive in society, not really knowing what to do with his life, maybe. I'm not sure exactly what he meant, but there are some really interesting lyrics, and even the music is very dreamy. It's got this cool alternate tuning where it's E, A, C sharp, G, B, C sharp. So very sort of spooky stuff. Take a listen to it and see if you could maybe envision Chris Martin writing this at like 2 or 3 in the morning. Really trippy song there. Okay, so how can you put this kind of somnambulant, dream-like writing into practice? Some of this is just sort of self-exploration of your own creativity and your own mind. I would say write a lot, write very frequently. Also try the 12-page freeform write, just like Chris Martin does. If he does it, maybe it'll work for you. And maybe you can even combine the freeform writing with writing late at night. So maybe if you're getting a little bit tired and you're thinking about going to bed, do a 12-page freeform write, and then try to stay up. And while you're in that sleep-wake kind of dreamy headspace, pick up your guitar or go to the piano and see if you come up with any interesting music. Or maybe if you wake up in the middle of the night too, that'd be another thing you could do, is just go to your instrument and see what comes out. Guys, thanks so much for checking out this video on how to write a song like Coldplay. I hope these tips are helpful to you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe the video. Let me know if you have any comments. You can put those down in the comments below. Let me know if there are any artists you want me to analyze. I hope that you're getting some cool material to work with in your own songwriting, and I wish you the best of luck in your writing. Also, please feel free to check out my website, www.songwritingresources.com, for additional content, including some really cool blog posts and some other tips. And I also have a free songwriting course there that you can try out. All you have to do is subscribe to the site, and you get a 16-page manual on how to write a song. So go ahead and check that out when you get a second. It's been a pleasure for me to work on this, and stay tuned for the next video series. Take care. Bye.